Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing all right out there this morning, having a great start to your day, and a great work week out there so far as we're making our way through it. As you guys know, the main topic of this morning's video is going to be severe weather, and we're expecting this severe weather event to start and crank up sometime early this afternoon across areas of the South. We've been talking about over the last few days, and is now going to unfold today. We're expecting a chance for a tornado outbreak today. You know, whatever you consider a tornado outbreak, I'm certainly expecting at least a few tornadoes today. And so what we're going to do is, this is going to be really the last video I specifically make on this event, because I don't go live. I'm hoping I can do that sometime in the future, but just so you guys know, and I think most of you folks do know, there's a lot of great people who go live on YouTube during these events, break it down. They even got storm chasers that chase for them and give you live conditions. There's a lot of great setups out there, and certainly they do a great job of keeping people aware, so definitely remember that. But we're going to give you my version of the last update we can, give you all the revised information. I just want to remind you, normally on the day of these events, things rapidly change one way or the other. So by the time you watch this, maybe the outlook changes, maybe it widens, maybe it shrinks, maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. So just a reminder there, but we're going to go over everything. There's also a snowy side of this event that we're going to talk about. For you folks in Minneapolis today, it could be your biggest snow event of the year. I'm not of the year, but of the fall season. So we're going to talk about that too, but obviously to be on the tail end of the video, we really need to talk about the severe weather event first. So I hope you guys are going to I hope you guys do stay safe today. Stay aware, stay weather aware, and we're going to get through this, guys. We are. It's going to be okay, and we're going to make it through. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, please put it in the comments below. And we're certainly praying for the best case scenario today in the South, that hopefully this is just a dud of an event in a good way and it doesn't materialize. But let's get going and talk about what we see out there. So water vapor loop. One thing I want you to notice here, you see the darker colors right here in the South, that is dry air hanging on. But if you look at the whiter colors, that is more moist air, higher water content in the atmosphere. So the moist sector is beginning to materialize and move in. You'll probably wake up in certain areas of the South that are expecting severe weather today, and you might wake up and you're like, well dang, it feels like a crisp fall morning out here. But by the time you get into about midday, early this afternoon, for areas like Jackson up to Memphis, areas of northeast Louisiana, places like that, you'll notice that the atmosphere completely does a 180 by the time you get into this afternoon. It'll be very humid, and this is going to be one of the ingredients that sets the stage to a severe weather event. Storm Prediction Center, the latest update. Let me go on and get you an update. Okay, nothing's changed. I want to remind you all, there'll probably need to be another update on this, probably an hour and a half after I drop this video. It's normally the way it works. But there is a moderate risk still. It's not a high risk. It's still a moderate risk. But one thing you notice, and guys, please never take this as me being super prideful or saying, yay, see, I called it, or anything like that. I am not that type of guy. I try to be a humble guy. My granny taught me that at a very young age. But I did mention last night that I was a little bit concerned about areas further south of this moderate risk. And certainly they have actually cut off the northern extent of this moderate risk and shifted it a little bit further south. So really the southern extent of it hasn't shifted south, but they're saying that maybe Middle Tennessee might be the war zone today that might be hit the worst. So tornado risk, and remember, moderate risk, a level 4 out of 5, enhanced risk. Please just know that if you're not in the moderate risk, that doesn't mean you're in the clear. We have seen time after time again, there'll still be strong tornadoes and significant severe weather even outside the moderate risk, or the most high-end area that has the chance to see the most significant severe weather. So please remember that. Even areas in the slight risk in Nashville and places like that, Shreveport, really the further you go east of Shreveport, the worse it gets. But Jackson, Mississippi, which is obviously a bigger town, bigger city in Mississippi, you guys are going to be in the middle of this. So what we seeing, a tornado risk, there is a 15% risk of a tornado in this red area, 25 miles in any given location. The yellow area, that is a 10% chance of see a tornado in 25 miles in a given location. And if you notice, there's a black dash is going through both regions I just mentioned. That is a hatched region, meaning there is also, not necessarily added, but there is also a 10% risk of a tornado, an EF2 or higher tornado within 25 miles in any given location. Once you get the EF2, guys, I've mentioned it in many videos talking about this, guys. That's when you start to have a big time destruction to neighborhoods, towns, things like that. One thing that has went down is the wind threat with this. There is only a 15% risk to see wind damage, winds pushing 50 knots or higher now. So the wind threat has went down with this. But one thing that has increased is the hail risk. And really this is because the chances for supercells have increased, which isn't a good thing for tornadoes. So now you have a 30% risk to see hail in 1 inch or diameter or larger within 25 miles in any given location in this red area. And then you also have the 15% risk of the same criteria. And then you also have this black outlined area. And this is a 10% risk or greater probability of seeing 2 inch or diameter hail or larger within 25 miles in any given location. And you notice that this is shifted a little bit further west. So it's saying that really with any kind of severe weather event, normally early in the severe event, the significant severe weather event, you normally have a discrete storm mode. When I say mode, basically it's what the structure of the storm looks like. And normally earlier in these events during the day, the storm mode is normally sometimes discrete, more semi-discrete. And then normally when you get into the overnight hours, these storms like to congeal together. And sometimes it becomes a damaging wind threat. But it's saying earlier in the storm mode, watch out for these supercells. And with any kind of supercell, it has always a chance to drop hail. So this has increased. So please watch out for hail today. A little bit closer look at this. Hopefully this comes up decently big on your screen. It shows cities a little bit better here. Memphis, you're now just an enhanced risk. The severe weather, well, the chance of the most significant severe weather has decreased a little bit. But please do not get your guard down, guys. If you're worried about up there in Nashville and areas of western Kentucky, you're under a slight risk. You do have a 5% risk to see a tornado within 25 miles of any given location, a chance for damaging winds, and some hail. But I wouldn't be, please stay weather aware. I'm not saying don't be aware of anything, but it's not going to be as significant up here. Down here, you have a sector of high-end ingredients that's going to cause significant severe weather today. And Jackson, unfortunately, you folks are right almost in the epicenter of this. Okay, so please watch out in these areas. Basically, if you're in the moderate risk, that's you got the highest chance to see severe weather today. So let's get rolling here. We're going to get to how this could potentially develop today. Let's go on and just look at the latest run here. So we'll start this off this morning around 6 a.m., which is about right now for Central Time. And we'll watch to see how this develops. We are not in the 11Z, we're in the 10Z. So as this gets going, we are starting to get... at this point, about right now, we're around 11 a.m. noontime. You notice you got a lot of scattered convection. And if we actually look at what's going on right now off the radar in Shreveport, you see a lot of fast-moving little showers and downpours. These are not threatening right now. But, you know, it just tells you that the HRRR model is on to something with some scattered, isolated convection already firing up here. But obviously no big severe weather right now. So we'll keep this going here in time. And we're getting into about midday if the HRRR model is correct. You already got a lot of shower, storm activity up near Memphis, northern Mississippi, and even far eastern Arkansas, all the way up into southeast Missouri. But really, we're not too worried about this. What we are worried about is, do we have a wide open sector of kind of cleared of convection in this area down here in central and southern Mississippi, areas of Louisiana, and maybe even Alabama? And what we watch for, do we get some kind of clearing around mid-afternoon, early to mid-afternoon? And then we watch for these storms right here that come out of areas of southeast Louisiana, northern Louisiana, Shreveport. You might be in good shape just because you're a little bit west, but you're not out of the neck of the woods. You could have some storms early mid-afternoon that could produce some large hail, so be careful. But you know, you got to be concerned about this storm right here in northeast. And guys, this doesn't tell you exactly what's going to happen. This is what could potentially unfold, but it's pretty obvious that the Storm Prediction Center is leaning towards the HRRR model, because if I'm about to show you the NAM, it just doesn't look as worrisome looking, I can tell you that. And I'm not going to come up here and sound the hype alarm, just because I want to talk about what the worst case scenario is. But it's pretty obvious that the Storm Prediction Center is leaning towards the 8RRR model. So if we keep this going, at this point we're getting into later in the afternoon, getting into about 4 or 5 p.m. And you just got a cluster of semi-discrete supercells. And really watch these storms down here too. I mean, even watch the western panhandle of Florida. The thermodynamics will be the highest down here. The further south you go, thermodynamics like higher dew points, higher surface temperatures, higher cape levels. But then, what about your kinematics? Those will be the best a little bit further north. So, like I've mentioned many times in these videos leading up to the event, where does the best overlapping of these dynamics happen? Sometimes thermos can win out, sometimes kinematics will win out. But either way, this area right into here, I'm worried about a couple of cells right in here. And if we keep this going, these cells we certainly need to watch out for. Right here in kind of west central Mississippi, but everywhere too. We got some storms up here in Tennessee, in central Tennessee, but they look more. They don't look significant. They look just like some heavy rain and some storms. But you could have, remember, in Tennessee, Kentucky, the kinematics will be best. So with these kind of congealed convection up here in Tennessee, you could have an isolated spin up and these kind of mushed up storms. So that could be dangerous because it could be rain wrapped. There isn't really a great structure to the storms up here in Tennessee. But down here, we're getting into about 6 p.m. when the sun's starting to go down. And I really think around this time frame is when you got to worry. Because you got a couple cells that are kind of connected, but still, they have an open sector to take advantage of all these parameters and ingredients to the south. So you can see this little hook right here, little hook right there. There could be 2 or 3 big storms that you watch out for. And maybe these in the middle of Mississippi might be the ones that produce something significant, like those EF2s or highers. But then look at these little storms still in northern Louisiana, the northern half of Louisiana, that have that little kidney bean look to it. And even look at this kind of rogue storm in southeast Arkansas. And you got to continue to watch this. I mean, look at these storms right in here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the moderate risk gets kind of extended southwest and more into Louisiana. But I can tell you, the storms don't look as widespread down to the south, but there's going to be a corridor right here. And not only of severe storms, but it looks like they're going to be riding over the same areas. This could produce flash flooding. We'll talk about that here in a second. But eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, we're reaching, 11 p.m. tonight, things like that. I really think this will kind of congeal and turn into a heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds, damaging wind threat. But I think this is going to linger into the overnight hours, at least till about midnight. So you look at the NAM. Of course, you're pulling for the NAM to happen. The NAM is just really scattered. I'm not going to stay on this long, but pushes an area of developing convection into Memphis, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi a little bit later this morning. This would not be the main event. And then has more convection developing a little bit later today. Shows some, storms you got to watch out for here in northern Louisiana. But altogether, it's not a super threatening look. Some of these storms could produce some severe weather, but it just does not look near as significant as the 8RRR model. But the NAM does show some kind of semi-discrete supercells forming all the way from northern Louisiana, all the way through the northern half of Mississippi a little bit later tonight. So you would want to watch out for that. And then it has a pretty significant line of storms moving through central Mississippi, northern Alabama. And this eventually can make its way all the way to Atlanta. And tomorrow we will be waking up to some heavy rain and maybe some lightning and thunder here in the areas of the southeast. But really talking about it, we've talked about this a million times already, but I'll very briefly go over this. What's going on is today that moist sector will build. So like I said, some areas will wake up to a crisp air mass. But for example, in Memphis or Jackson, Mississippi, you might wake up to dew points in the 50s. But then suddenly, by the time you get into this afternoon, dew points might push 70 in Jackson, Mississippi. In fact, I think they will. And I think 70, 80% of the state of Louisiana will get dew points in the 70s. It'll be very humid. It will feel like severe weather is coming. So open, warm sector, you got to watch out. Plenty of moist air for this to really breathe and get going. Next thing you look at is this low-level jet. What kind of kinematics do you have? Kinematics is that wind energy. Well, in this area that we got to be concerned about, you got a 40 to maybe 50, 60 knot low-level jet. And then you got turning of the winds with height, meaning they're changing directions with height and they're speeding up. So you got a spinning of them updrafts that causes the potential for a supercell and a tornado to drop, basically. And then one thing you look at also, obviously, is the cape levels. What kind of cape levels do you have in response to these high-end areas of dew points right here? And then look at the cape levels. Here we go. Pivotal weather. I love it, but it is certainly kind of an annoying sight to use sometimes, especially when you're doing it on the fly. But look at how these cape levels rise in response to these higher dew points. I mean, you got the most highest dew points in Louisiana, but watch out. All the other parameters, the ingredients is really maxed out into this area. And as these cape levels reach, 1,500, potentially 2,000 joules per kilogram in these areas right here, plenty of fuel for these storms to work with. So, scary situation today, guys. I'm not here to freak anybody out, but I am here to keep you guys aware. Don't freak out. Just stay aware, guys. Really, I mean. Just have a way to get alerts, okay? The significant tornado parameter today, don't look at this and think, holy crap, if I'm in the pink, I'm certainly getting a tornado today. Just look at this, as always, as to think, okay, this is the highest area that could see a tornado today, right here in Louisiana, Mississippi. And, of course, this parameter maxes out with some of these supercells to near an 8 or 9 or 10. But it's going to be right in here, the sector of favorable ingredients, guys. So please be aware today. There's plenty of ways to stay up to date and stay updated with people who go live, guys. And I mentioned this too. I thought it was going to be an area that was going to have a moderate risk of flash flooding. I thought it was actually going to be to the north, but it's to the south. We could get a lot of rain over the next 24 hours, guys. Moderate risk is at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met in your area. And really it's because it's depicting this area down here that could see 2 to 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain between now and the next 24 hours. But, Mississippi, Alabama, southern areas of Mississippi, even North Georgia, waking up tomorrow morning, a few inches of rain certainly possible and likely, as a lot of these storms, when they congeal together overnight, it could pose a flash flooding threat. It certainly shouldn't be ignored. We'll talk about this really quick. For the rest of the southeast, we've already mentioned the storms. A nasty setup today. But as we move into the overnight hours, a lot of heavy rain for Kentucky, Tennessee, and not just heavy rain, some storms. Rain will move into West Virginia, western areas of Virginia, and then basically the mountains of North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina. And then by the time we wake up tomorrow, what's left over of this event will be, you'll be waking up some lightning and thunder for areas of southeast Alabama, Atlanta, central Georgia, and potentially into the Carolinas. Moving up into the northeast, pretty quiet day today. Not much going on until overnight when these showers begin to move into this area. Tonight, I am still going to do a video, but I'm going to start to move forward, and I'm obviously going to touch base on what's going on at that current time. But I really want to mention the southern New England. I have a guy who lives up in Connecticut, the views faithfully. I really appreciate you. You always are mentioning the winds up here. We're going to talk about that tonight because there could be a big wind event in southern New England over the next 2 days. We're going to talk about that a little bit later this evening. South central U.S., the only area of concern really is obviously these areas we've already mentioned. And watch out, southeast Texas. You could have some, severe weather a little bit early this afternoon that could produce some hail. But look, watch out here in Kansas. Some snow can move into areas of western to central areas of the state before diminishing. But really, a story that really isn't being talked about is you got snow moving into Minneapolis right now. And you guys are actually going to be a jackpot as far as bigger towns and cities for 5 to 8, maybe 10 inches of snow today. Probably lesser than 10 inches. But with this system riding through, with this, surface low, there's going to be an area of very heavy snow from probably northeast Nebraska through northwest Iowa, through central to southern areas of Minnesota, and then reaching all the way into Wisconsin, and then eventually the far western UP of Michigan. and then this moves through and moves on out. So, winter storm warning's up for Minneapolis. I mean, it's getting to that time of the year where it's hard to get a winter storm warning, but I really think this is because a lot of the snow is going to fall very quickly. And here it is. You get a look here at this stripe of heavy snow, and that's literally what it is. And let's go on and just get a closer look at Minneapolis. And in fact, here, let's go to cities. Go down to Minneapolis down here. And the heaviest snow moves right over the city. 7-8 inches of snow is possible in a very quick amount of time, guys. This is going to be a quick hitting heavy snow. It's going to affect rush hour, and there could be some 1 to 2 inch per hour rates in this area. Temperatures today, there's an Arctic gradient right here where, you can see it here. The areas in the Midwest and the Northern Plains, Central Plains will be frozen. But then down here where all the severe weather and this surface lows and this upper trough is going to yank up this warm, moist air, 60s all the way up into St. Louis. And very lot of warm air down the deep south with this severe weather ongoing. So that's all I got, guys. Please stay safe out there. Have a plan. Have a radar you can look at. And just find a way to get alerts, guys. You know it down here. I know you guys can handle it in Mississippi. But time and time again, this still catches people off by surprise. And I think it always will. There's a saying that I've always said, and it's not me being smart or anything like that, guys. Trust me, it's not. But I always say it like this. People do not take the weather serious until it's directly affecting them. And I think it's just important to know a little bit more than just your surface value information on the weather. Just looking at your app and seeing a snowflake icon and just making a mass assumption it's going to snow on that specific day. There's so much more that goes into it, guys. And one of these days, I'll be able to drop educational videos. I'm not great with presentations, but there's a lot of great YouTubers that do that. I'll have to link that one day when I get time. But stay safe out there. God bless, and I'll have you an update this evening.